So Kerry chatted with me after, with you guys because we are colleagues, business besties, yes. And although I work in a slightly different industry in my business, I still work in the dance industry. So understand the challenges that dancers or dance studio owners often face, even though I'm not a studio owner. I own a fitness studio. I have 5 fitnesses. I'm one of those people who, as Kerry said, can't say no to things. And so what I've been thinking about is the lessons that I learned as a dancer when I was in a studio as a student and how I've transitioned some of those things into my entrepreneurial success. Again, that's a really hard word. I don't know why we even use it. But I definitely have been reflecting on the fact that what I learned as a dancer definitely has impacted the way that I do business and how I view things. So I have always been someone who is after, I've always pursued excellence. So as Kerry mentioned, as a kid, as a really young kid, I was on state team for gymnastics. So I have always just had this inner drive to achieve. And no matter what it was, I always wanted to do my best. And it wasn't even to make other people proud, it was to make myself proud. So I had an inner drive, and it wasn't about accolades from other people or any of that. And dancers often have that as well. I'll do that step again just until I can get it right, the way that I want to. As Kerry mentioned, after gymnastics, I transitioned into dance, danced for quite some time, did a lot of stuff in children's entertainment. So kind of you name the character, I've been them. Been Bob Builder, I've been a whole lot of different characters in my time. So again, had to really be different people, be different characters. And that's not dissimilar to being a studio or a business owner, where you've got to be the person who is overlooking or doing the books, the person who's the client liaison, talking to the parents, the teacher. There's so many different things. So as a dancer, being different characters and that, or playing different roles, doing different dance styles, changing is what we are used to doing. We do that all the time. And so pursuing greatness, I've always been someone who pursued greatness. There's me as a little kid. I can't even imagine how old I am there, probably 1 or 2. This is me as Plex, who I was so do you want to know Gabba Gabba?
Yeah.
TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's this TV show that I'm
sorry, but that was pretty bad, that show.
I'm very sure that there was something going on when the guys were writing it.
Yeah.
It was a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But I was the original live Plex in the world.
Wow.
So they built this costume, which was horrific because for the 45 minutes I was on stage, I had to hold my arms out. I couldn't actually put my arms down. Yeah. So that was definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
And the people who made the suit weren't aware of the person who was inside it, because they've only ever made a suit for TV, and that person put the suit on and off, like did this, and then the camera went away. But I obviously was on stage for a really long time. And so I had to navigate my way through holding my arms up for 45 minutes, which, let me tell you, it gave me some strong shoulders. This is just me now as a business owner. This is me in China as a business owner, swinging on a swing.
Love it.
Because I like to travel a lot. Aaron and myself travel quite a bit for the fun of travel. And that's something that I, as well as in my business, I like to find the fun in my business, but also in my life, because it balances me and gives me an opportunity to come back to my business and be refreshed. So I've learned to balance things out. So one of my things, and this is to do with the Big School Walk, where the Big School Walk came from was my first virtual assistant. So my first virtual assistant that I hired, when I hired him, he had a computer that the screen didn't work, and he was homeless. So I had said to him that to work for me, you have to have a computer. So he borrowed his friends, brothers, sisters' television to connect to his computer so that he could work for me. So I looked at him, and on my first trip to the Philippines, I was running around the island of Sikihor where there is a lot of poverty, but there's also a lot of wealth. So there's a very big difference between those that have and those that haven't. And I was thinking about how I could make an impact. And I thought, reminded me of Julius, my assistant. And I was like, this is a kid who had a dream. Much like all of the kids who we teach, they have a dream to be a ballerina, to be the prima ballerina in the Australian ballet, to be the lead in a musical, to whatever that role is. So I want you guys to think about now, what is your dream? I want you to write it down. So I'm just gonna, like, what is your dream? It can be personal, it can be business, but what is one thing that you, and it can be big, like it can be massive. It doesn't matter how big, how small, but what is your dream? I'm not going to ask you, just so you know, I'm not going to ask you to like share them out loud right now.
Right now.
Right now. We might get to that later, but I just want you to have a think about and dream big. Like I said, my idea, like very, very honestly, my idea for the Big School Walk, Aaron and I had gone to this island on the Philippines because it was our first wedding anniversary. That's a whole other story altogether. We were in COVID, so we didn't have a first wedding anniversary. We were in the Philippines and that we went to this island. I went for a run, and for those who've been to the Philippines, it is 472 million% humidity. So anytime you step outside, you're sweating. So I decided I'd go for a run. Why? I don't know. Went for a run, and I just thought to myself, we could make an impact here, and let's do this endurance walk around the side. Let's all come here and go for a walk and raise some money for kids. Now, this year, and I don't have any footage of it, but there's definitely footage of it. As we walked around that island, there was, like, we walked past a high school and 2,000 children stood out the front of that school and cheered us on.
Oh.
And I was like, this is so much bigger than what I ever dreamed it was going to be. It was a little idea that I had, and it has turned into a movement. So I'm like, if I didn't think that I could achieve something, that would never ever have happened. And I mean, Kerry was there. There was 90 people who walked around this island and were so impacted by these children, what they saw, like you were saying about the kids, your kids walked up. So I'm like, the fact was I just had a dream. And I was like, this was an idea. And that was what, when I was standing in front of the students in the Philippines, I was trying to encourage them to have a dream. Just dream big. Yeah? So now that you've got your dream, I want you to think of what are the challenges that you're currently facing. They don't have to be related to the dream necessarily, but what are you challenged by? I know in my own business, I'm challenged by the fact that I do too much, keep saying yes to things. We have quite a lot of staff, so we have staffing issues, but like what challenges are you facing? What are the things that might be standing in your way? You know, Kerry mentioned before, the changeover of staff, teachers are often a problem, parents can sometimes be a problem in the dance studio, having not enough time to get things done.
The only person who knows how to do stuff.
The only person who knows how to do that. I have so much on my plate.
Motivation.
Yeah, am I motivated to do that? There's so many things, and the challenge can be like it's your own challenge. So I want you to just write some of those down. And then next, what I want you to think about is how do you define success? How would you define yourself as being successful? So like I mentioned with the Big School Walk, Our last event was definitely a huge success, and I would say that there was a lot of people who felt very moved and impacted by that. Could we have raised more money? Yes, could we have? But my definition of success was seeing some of the children, the Filipino children, but also the Australian children that came across, seeing how they were lit up by the situation and how that motivated them. So you could define success by making a certain amount of money. Again, this is your own personal definition of success. You might want a studio that wins the competition. You might not be a competition studio. You might want a studio that produces professional dancers. You might want a certain number of students. Like, you have to know in your mind what actually defines success. Sophie, it's what I define success for her too.
Get in there, swear to God. Get them young, train them up.
And what I've come up with is 5 lessons that dance taught me. And like I said, as a dancer, as a dance teacher, as a business owner, I've connected the dots. And so the first thing that I learned was to have a growth mindset and to always strive for excellence. Now, as I mentioned, with your success, excellence can be one thing for you and a different thing for somebody else. But I had always strived for excellence in whatever it was that I did. And that took a lot of different forms over the years. So, you know, gymnastics, I was on the state team. When I was at school, I was a very, very academic student until I got to year 11 and 12, and then dance became really, really important to me. So I then very much shifted, and I thought it was cool that I could change my sack so I could be on Neighbours instead of actually getting a good score on my sack. So my focus changed from academic stuff to dance. And then even, you know, for excellence, when you meet Aaron is a crazy running person. He loves to run. And I like to run. Like to run. I'll say like to run. He and I did a marathon together. And to be honest, I didn't think in all of the lead up that I could do the distance. It was my challenge in my mind was, can I actually do this? It's a very long way to run. And I'm not a runner. That's what I had in my head. My self-talk was, you are not a runner. This is not something that you can do. We ran our first marathon in Canada, and true story, I was not a very nice running partner because I was in a very, very negative headspace, and I made him run beside me the entire time, which was not his favourite thing to do because he's a little taller than me. And by about 35 kilometres, he's like, I can't run next to you anymore because this is hurting. I'm taking more steps than I need to. And so I said to him, okay, I've got it now. I sort of talked myself into a situation where I'm like, I can do this. He ran to the finish line and waited. This is the finish line. He waited here for me. He did everything right. And I got to the finish line, stepped over and burst into tears. And he was like, what do you need? Shall I call the medic? Do you need some food? And I just said, I did it.
Yeah.
I actually did it because I truly did not believe that I had that in me. So I think having a growth mindset and striving for excellence will help you achieve things that you never thought were possible.
Are you going to do a second one?
I have done a second one. And when I did the second one, the first one I did in Canada, and it wasn't a great lead up to, it was the first time I'd been to Canada, first time I met his family, and they're like, let's drink wine and let's do this. I'm like, you probably shouldn't do that in the lead up to a marathon, but I've just met these people I need to, so there was a lot going on. And then when we did the second one, it was in Melbourne, and I was like, I need to do this now with a proper lead up.
Yeah.
And funny story, at the second one, he again ran faster than me and waited, and I ran across the finish line, and he was standing there, and I just ran across, and that was fine. And he said, no tears? And I was like, oh no, I'm good. And he said, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I knew I could do it. I've done it before. So I used that first experience, which, you know, it allowed me to then believe that I could do it the second time around.
I thought you were going to say you went straight past it.
No. So now, if you think about the dream that you had before, the challenge that you have sort of put in there and how you define success, think about how could a growth mindset help you overcome the challenges that you have said. So like, it's not necessarily about, you know, completely changing the way you think, but looking at that challenge that you might have, how can you reframe that? How can you think about that with a growth mindset? How can this challenge stretch you? How can it challenge you? How can it make you grow, as opposed to being something that is so difficult to get past? You know? Is there specific action that you could take? Now, my second point was about obviously embracing challenges. So now, yes, I've run a marathon. From there, I've always, and this running was never ever my thing. I was not a huge exercise person, but I was never ever huge into exercise. And what I have learned is that I need to, in order for me to get better, I need to grow. In order for me to grow, I need to be put under stress. So think about it as a dance student. How do we get the student to the next level? We push them, we challenge them. Yeah. And often as a business owner, we go, oh, that's challenging. I'm going to keep doing the things that I know that I'm good. We shy away from a challenge, yet we encourage our students to be challenged. So I encourage you to look at the challenges that you have identified and look at them as a place for you to grow, and think of yourself as someone who can grow and can change and can adapt and can not become something different, but can become a better, enhanced version of yourself. The amount of things that I have been terrified by but done anyway is just, you know, you're talking about stories and suits, and this is what comes to my mind. So, you know, the state of origin, I'm clearly not a sporting person, but the Queensland versus New South Wales state of origin is like a big sporting thing. And when I was in a suit, that was my career, I had to be the bee, whatever it was that's the mascot of. And they said to me, okay, you've got to come to Marvel. It wasn't called Marvel at the time, but you've got to come to Marvel. And I'm a very, very experienced suit operator. I've been doing that for a long time. And I got there and they're like, by the way, you have to abseil out of the roof. And I was like, in costume? Yes, in costume. And I was like, I'm not sure that I'm allowed to do that. Like, do I need to sign a waiver? Do I this? And they didn't end up making me do that, but I was ready to. I was like, okay, if that's what my job entails, that's what my job entails. You know, as dancers, we just do whatever it takes. When you're backstage with the kid, you sew up their costume, you put a pin in this, there's so many different things that you will just do without thinking. And it allows you to become a different person. It allows you to grow. So I want you to think of all of those times where you have been challenged by something and not questioned it. You've just gone ahead and done it, which we do all the time. It's just got to get done, so I'm just going to do it. Think of, in the lead up to a performance, we'll have an extra rehearsal. You just have an extra rehearsal. You don't think about the time and the effort that goes into it. Even as the dance student, you're like, yes, I'll come to an extra rehearsal. I want to do well at my competition. So you're thinking about the end goal and you're just going through the challenge and not actually thinking about how much hard work is going into that. It's just something that you do. So again, come back to that dream. What is your dream? What did you think of before? What are those challenges that you've got in front of you? What are the obstacles that you have? And how could you turn and reframe the obstacle into an opportunity? How is this an opportunity for you to grow? How is this an opportunity for you to become a better version of yourself? Excuse me. The fourth thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is something that now I do run quite a bit, because I've got a husband that makes me run. No, he doesn't make me run at all. I do. My running for me is therapy. It's a time when I get to think. So I will go for a run almost every morning, and I'm not about speed or distance or anything. It's about thinking. And as I was running along, I was thinking about how to relate, and Kerry had mentioned, people were feeling a little bit overwhelmed. It's constant time. It's this. And I was thinking about my own journey in life, but also in business. And when I started my business with Aaron, as Kerry mentioned before, we were both fitness instructors, and we thought this would be a cool thing to have a side gig. If we just get 10 people in a room who all pay $10 each, we'll make an extra $100 a week. This is a good thing on top of our already full-time jobs. So, let's do this. This will be fun. So that was kind of a season of our life where we both had full-time jobs and we did business for fun. Like, it was not necessarily about building us a lifestyle, building us a this. It was just for the fun of. The dance studio that I was working out of decided to sell, and the person who built that was definitely a business person, who then said, actually, you can't just use our space for free, you must pay rent, which then drastically changed the profit margins of our little side gig. And so what we decided to do was, hey, we're just going to build our own gym. So for the first probably 2 years, we ran a gym for no money, like most business owners start with. It's a passion thing. We both do enjoy fitness and the challenge of, so that was where we started. From there, we have then gone to here, and we've expanded out. We now run a first aid training company, Big School Walk, a gym, preventative health program, and pet healthcare company.
Wow.
So we have 5 businesses, and all of them have been, as they've come in, it's been at a different time when we've learned more, an opportunity has presented itself. And I think back to all of those seasons in my life where I was the same person, but I was a slightly different person. And I've taken on a challenge and I've run towards that challenge going, I'm going to do this. As I was running along, thinking about that, I'm like, how can I relate this to dance studio owners? And then it hit me. I'm like, when you run a dance studio, you actually have and are completely fine with seasons throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, it's enrollment season. In the middle of the year, it might be exams, competitions, depending on what you're working towards. End of the year, you have your performance, end of your concert. And these are seasons that you guys know and trust and take them in your stride. Every year at the beginning of the year, we've got to push hard so that we can. So it's not that you guys aren't aware of the fact that business and life is seasonal. You've just accepted it in one aspect of your life. And I encourage you to zoom out and think a little bit bigger and go back to when you started your business and think about then. Did you know then what you know now? Not at all. Yeah. And also think about the fact that you don't know what you don't know. Yeah, and it's a journey to get there. So and relating that back to the fact that if we have a growth mindset, you can accept the fact that you don't know what you don't know, but when you know it, you will. And it's a journey to get there. It's going to be a challenge to get there, and it might be a different season of your life. And I know that, like Joy, you'll be in a different season of your business now that you've got a child. Like all of these things. So life does influence business. What's going on outside of definitely influences what's going on inside of. And you can use those as motivation. They can be a challenge. They can be an obstacle. They can be all of those things, but it can also really push you onto that next level if you let it. So I want you to, again, because I'm going back around, let's connect this back to the dream and the challenge. So is there a way that you can be adaptable, change, transition to help you towards that dream? And again, this hit me this morning as I was running along, going, okay, thinking about this. And I was like, most people would probably think, oh, I was not that good at adapting and I'm not sure about the seasons of my life. Yes, I've got those seasons in my business. And I didn't want to necessarily bring it up, but I was like, I actually can't, because I want to point out how adaptable we as an industry, we as a city were when COVID happened. Because I'm like, that happened instantly, and we're in a gym. Gyms were the same as dance schools. We were instantly closed. You guys were instantly closed. Now, we do like our cushy. We know that at the beginning of the year we have enrollment and then we have this. That was just gone. The seasons that we were used to were gone, and it was stressful, but everyone adapted. And everyone went, okay, cool, we're going to go online. We all of a sudden learned to teach dance classes via Zoom, and we were okay with the children being 2 beats behind because the music didn't work properly, and all of those challenges that went with it. But we just went, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way because I'm going to do this. So you all actually have done this and do this frequently. It's just maybe you haven't stopped to reflect on the fact that that's actually a part of you already. And it's the same with the students you teach. You know, they're going to work hard for their exam, or they're going to study hard, get that role. That's one season. You know, we move through those. So number 4 was avoiding burnout and finding balance. I think, and I'm guilty of this, as I mentioned, I have 5 businesses. I spend a lot of time working with 5 businesses. It's necessary. But I also showed that picture before of me swinging on a swing in China. I am always very cautious of my time and where I spend my time. I'm very deliberate of where I spend my time, and I choose to do things that light me up. Now, in all of my businesses, I also write for Dance Life magazine, and so I get to go and view performances and interview people in shows and that kind of stuff. Like I just interviewed one of the actresses from Menopause the Musical, and I will take time out of my week to interview someone, and I love having that conversation because it connects me to the world of dance, which I still love. It's not my business anymore, but I go and see a show, and Aaron, who now is quite critical of the lighting in that production because he also reads my reviews. So he has developed a critical eye of certain things. But I find outlets to do things that make me happy. As I mentioned before, I do run, not for pace, not for this, but I will go for a run most mornings. And that's my time to be in my head so that I can recenter myself, so that I can balance myself. I often tell people I solve all of the world's problems in a 1-hour run. I feel so much better about my life after I have gone for my run. It doesn't have to be a run. It could be a walk. It could be, you know, sitting down watching television. It could be going out with your girlfriends, going and watching a show. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's finding those moments where you can recenter yourself that really, really ground you, allow you to come back to that, okay, if I have a growth mindset, I can achieve this. It reframes the obstacle as a challenge for you to overcome, as opposed to something that you can't get past. So I challenge you to find the things that light you up and do those, not more of necessarily, but find time to do those things. It's not going to be at a detriment to your business. It's going to be a benefit to your business because finding those times will recharge your business, especially in those seasons of a lot of stress. Yeah, it's constant time with this, is that. And yes, you've got a lot of things to do, but to take that time, even if it's a short 10-minute break, to just sit outside in the sun and feel the sun on you and be a little bit mindful of that, you will come back with it renewed energy and a different outlook on the situation, where you can reframe an obstacle into a challenge. And that's just a difference in language, but it is also a difference in mindset that will then allow you to go, okay, this isn't as big as I thought it was going to be, and I can see the way. So again, I want you to find your center. So how could you balancing yourself allow you to get through those challenges? So you've written down some challenges, and we're going to call them challenges, not obstacles. So what are those things? What's some things that you could do personally that are going to get you to find your center again? And we tell kids all the time, they're having a bad turning day. Oh, it's okay. You're having a bad turning day today. Don't worry about it. Tomorrow will be better. We actually do this and encourage this of our students all the time, but we don't apply it to ourselves. I'm going really fast. Okay. So one thing that I have, and Kerry and I spoke of this, was, and I am guilty of, so when I danced, I only had dance friends. They were my only friends. And I love all my dance friends. So it's a commonality that dancers have. Now I teach dance to high school students, and they all come from different schools and end up in the same room together. And always at week 1 of year 11, because they're all in year 11, they all come into the room and don't say anything. Like no one wants to say anything. And I mean, I'm not shy, so I'll stand up in front of them and I'm like, you guys actually are all already friends because you speak the same language. You all speak dance. And we go around the room, we say our name. Every person is very shy, and I remind them at the end of introductions that probably in 3 weeks, I'm going to have to jump up and down and make a big song and dance to get your attention, because you're going to already be connected through that. Now, because we have that in dance, we often don't look outside of that. And then when we become a dance studio owner, our community is our own dance studio community. So the parents, the students, the teachers, like you've all created your own little community within your own dance studio. But being the principal, being the head of, can be a very, very isolating feeling, because nobody else knows what you've been through. Nobody else experiences it exactly the same as you, because the teachers that work for you don't have parents calling them in 5 seconds. They don't have to worry about this, that. So what took me a little while to understand was that I needed to expand my network outside of my dance friends, which would then enable so many different opportunities. And Kerry and I together joined a business networking or coaching program, which is where we met Greg, who was here before. And that has changed not only my business, but my life. I now have these friends who understand what it's like to own a business, who understand the stresses that I'm going through. Now, these people understand me, but they also challenge me. They also push me, and they also encourage me to be a better version of myself, to be a better business owner, to be someone who can think outside the box. And when Kerry and I were speaking of this, I was like, you guys actually have that here with each other. You actually have a network of people. And I'm in your Facebook group, and I'm like, you guys don't use that in the way that we use our business networking group. Like, in all honesty, if I need to know, just picking a random thing, like what brand personality comes up when you see the word a green color, I would post this slide into that group and say, is there a branding expert here? Can you tell me the emotions that are associated with green? And it's quite a large group, but probably in 5 or 10 minutes, I'd have 6 answers from them. And I'm like, that's just a random thing that I've thought of. But you guys as business owners are experiencing challenges and not sharing them with each other. So, and I heard you just before Vicky saying, oh, if you need costumes, I've got. So I'm like, you're actually all experiencing the same challenges and have a network of people around you who can support and help you with those, which that big dream then becomes a little bit easier because you've got people around you who can actually support and help you in that. And like our students, who compete or who are going for roles, there is healthy competition in being friendly, healthy, friendly competition. It pushes us all to be better. Yeah, and I know that within, I don't own a dance studio, but I can say that having Kerry as not only my dance teacher made me a better dancer, but now as one of my business friends, her influence on my business has made my business better. She's not a gym person. Just want to tell you all that very clearly. She's not a gym person. And when we started the Big School Walk, Kerry said, I will be the #1 cheerleader.
I was good the first year.
I'm not going to walk at all. I'm just going to cheer you all on. You are crazy exercise people who want to walk, and I support that. I'm just going to be your cheerleader.
Yeah,
And so
I made pom-poms.
she did make pom-poms
Made the
this
kids
year.
make the pom-poms.
And the kids had pom-poms as we crossed the finish
That's
line.
cute.
So she knew her strength, I knew my strength, and we put those together and we were able to do stuff. So you guys as a network of people all have individual, like you're all on your own individual path. And as I said before, you don't know what you don't know, but somebody else will know and can help you with that. Where you are on the journey of business, like I said, when we started our on the side gig in the dance studio, we knew nothing about taxes and super and all of that sort of stuff. And we thought we were killing it, making all this money every week, you know, a couple of extra $100. Now the stresses that we're under are completely different, but we have a network of people who might be a little bit further along in their business journey who can actually help. And, you know, you guys are all at different stages and different seasons of your life, different seasons of your business. So you can all actually help each other on that side of things. And that's a support that you're not necessarily going to get from your dance friends or from your studio community. So I encourage you to, one, use that Facebook group that's there, because there's a lot of people who, but like there's people who are in there who can help. Ask for help when you need it. Like it's, and I am guilty of not asking for help until it's the last minute. So I understand, but it's because as dancers, we just get it done. I was going to abseil out of the roof of Marvel Stadium. I was going to because that was what was required of me. So we are used to just doing what we need to do. I've got to do what I've got to do to get it done. But you do have people around you. And once you do that, that will then, again, change that obstacle into more of a challenge. And you have a support network of people who can help you overcome that challenge. So I want you to think of your dream first. What was that dream? What's the challenge that you're facing right now? And is there someone in this community, and it can be in communities that will expand tomorrow, there'll be a couple of other people in the room. So I know Kerry mentioned before, Kelly and Pete are coming and they've got a full-time dance studio. That's a different beast to, you know, a recreational dance studio, but that's where they are. And so if that's something that is of interest to you, that person might be really, really helpful. Like there is so many different people, so many different versions of what is a dance studio. So think about that dream that you had and what can the people in the room offer and how can you ask for help? What can you ask of somebody else who can help you? I know tomorrow afternoon us four and Katja are going to stand here and we're here to just help. It can be coursework, it can be how do I this, how do I that, and I'm not saying that the four of us have the answers to, but we're just here as a network of people who are willing to help and willing to support you guys to help you grow. So I challenge you to just have a think about what are those questions that you might need to ask and who else in the room can help you. Because once you build that network of people, it makes a huge difference. And that network of people, like there's 5 of us, Kim and Ryan, who were here last time, the 5 of us are kind of the organisers of the Big School Walk. Now, I was the person, as I mentioned before, who had the idea whilst I was running. Kim's business is specifically in grants and funding. So she has taken on the role of sponsorships and partnerships because this is what she does all day, every day. So she's like, I can do this. That is now going to transform this charity into something completely different because she acquires funds. That's what she does. Brian's a builder, so he's all into operations. He's like, I'm going to operationalize the way that this walk happens. We're going to have buses and this, and he's got this big spreadsheet. You know, like Aaron's a fantastic people person. So we've all taken on what are our roles and are putting this together to make one charity that is going to have a really good impact, which is originally my vision, but how together we're actually able to create something. So those are my 5 steps. Now I'm going to leave you with a little quote that I found, and it's from Eleanor Roosevelt. It says, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." So I want you to go back to that dream of what you had. Don't think of how hard it is to get there. Just think of the dream. Just have the dream, because if you dare to dream, then you dare to achieve. I said to the students when we were in the Philippines, because we're actually building 2 classrooms at a remote school in the Philippines, and I said to the students at that school, we're building a room that you're going to learn in, and in that room, there will be a dream. You will have a dream in that room, and that could make, I didn't say this, but I'm like, it could change the world. Yeah, if that kid has the dream and actually believes that they can achieve it, that actually could change the world. But if they have that mentality of challenges or obstacles, not challenges, and they don't have that growth mindset. So I want you to think of those 5 things. How can you take those 5 things into your business? Having a growth mindset, looking at should have made it, how to embrace challenges and grow. Think of those seasons. Don't be stressed out by those. Allow them to help you thrive. Remember to find that balance. Find something for you to take that time out to recenter yourself, and then use your network around you. And anything is possible. Yeah. I want you to really take away from this the fact that that dream is now written down and it's out there. You didn't say it out loud, but it's out there. It's on a piece of paper that you're going to go back and read. Put it on a vision board, do whatever it is that you need to do to see that every day and work towards that. It might take a week, it might take a month, it might take a year, it might take 10 years, but it's not out of reach with the right attitude to it. Anyone have questions about my crazy life?
I think it was you said exactly as you walked in this morning, Vicky. You said, "Nah, I'm not feeling guilty. I'm doing something for me." I'm like, "That's exactly what President said to do," and you were like, "You beat into it. You did it."
She stole my life.
She beat it.
But the other thing is, and it's difficult. Like we have a conference, a business conference next week, and then another one the week after, and it's like we're out of our business for a week, and we went to the Philippines to do the walk. We were out of our business for 3 weeks, and we were still working, but not in the office. And it's really hard to go, can I afford that time? Can you not afford that? Like, can you afford to not take that? That's my question. If you take the time, how much are you going to grow? What are you going to learn? And you can go back and implement that in there. What does it cost you to not take the time? Yeah. So if you are here, you know, and you do feel guilty, you're like, oh, I am. We go 4 times a year to Sydney for a week, and then 4 times to the Philippines, and travel and holiday and family and this and all of those things. You're like, oh, am I ever in my business? Which is sometimes how you feel. But if you're away and you're growing and you're acquiring knowledge and you're getting stuff that you can take back and implement in your business, then your business is going to continue to grow with you. And we'll get bigger and better and work towards that.
So I started meditating again 4 weeks ago. Haven't done it this week. And that made a huge difference to me. I felt guilty every time I did it because I was so happy.
Yeah, is it anyone here that doesn't feel guilt? I don't want to dance picture and share anything. Is there anyone that doesn't feel guilty being here, guilty when you could be, like, I don't even feel guilty when my staff was in the office and I left, because I'm like, should I be staying and doing the work?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm paying this person to to be here, but I'm feeling guilty. And I think I put that onto them, and then they'd start getting funny if I wasn't there, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying you. Like, I couldn't get past the guilt, and I don't know if that's a dance. I feel like it's a studio and a dance teachery, people pleaser type thing. You know,
I think it's probably also a business owner thing because you want the best for your business all the time. And so it feels, I know it's been a reframing in my mind, and I'm pretty good at reframing. It's taken a while, but I've been pretty good at reframing. Because you don't work for the money, you don't get paid so you don't think of them like that as well. Like I often have to stop and go, hang on a second, I'm actually paying the person. Therefore, my expectation is that you do the job that I ask you.
Yeah.
That's actually not a strange request.
No.
If you were working at McDonald's, you get paid $15 an hour or whatever you get paid, and you've got to dump the fries in the oil. And the expectation is that you do that over and over again. If you're not, then you're not doing what your job is. Whereas because it's our business, we don't think of it quite as systematically and process driven in that way. So if someone's not doing what they're supposed to, we make allowances for all of those things because we're trying to, we love it. It's our business, it's our other baby. So we look at it like that.
and I think your point about the community, you guys need to group more, but I think the problem with the communities, and this is something more for Leonie being so young, the biggest problem is we get connected to our community, we have loyalty to our community, we start feeling like they're part of our family, but they don't necessarily when it doesn't suit them anymore.
Yeah.
So, like I had a teacher for 21 years, I think she was there. And then when I implemented some big changes, because I wanted the studio to be able to run without me, so I started implementing some changes, business changes. She wasn't happy about it, and she literally just horrible, really horrible. Done some really nasty stuff to me now. But I for 21 years, looked after her, and I thought she was part of my community that would always be there. And it's same with parents and students, and we forget that they're paying us. And I think because we're not doing stuff for money, that's something that we need to remember. So just be careful with, I think, your dance community at times, because they're not always
Not
necessarily
your friends. I'm friendly with my families, but they're not my friends.
Yeah.
And that's
I
hard,
find
that's hard to remember.
And I had one parent who said to me, her daughter had been with me for a long time, 10, 12 years. And when her daughter was in year 12, she said to me, we can be friends next year. She said, because she's not dancing. And so she knew where I was coming from.
I'm glad that she had that as a checklist. Like she's decided that we will be friends next year.
Yes, I always said we can't be friends. We're like, I'll be friendly, and because I've been burnt so many times. And, I've got another woman who was fantastic with me through COVID, and she's not much younger than me, but she and I were the only ones who were out laying out the floor in the car park every day and not sterilising, but cleaning, sanitising, that's the word, the studios and everything every night, running off the checklists and all the rest of it. And her granddaughter dances with me, and there were a couple of times where I had to pull her granddaughter up on stuff, and she got nipped, and I had to turn around and go, don't you play that card with me? Because, and I said, that's my job and this is our friendship. And she's like, oh, okay, radio. And she backed off.
It can get really hard,
But you do have to.
And I think that's why we need to remember, and we get it, because we've all been there. Well, you haven't yet. You're going to get hurt. So I'm just going to let you know. I don't mean to be nasty, but one of them's going to hurt you.
They will.
But we know that.
And I think having someone who's not in your business, like in a different industry, they will see that. And we'll go, hang on a second, because let's face it, at the end of the day, every person that's learning dance from you is paying for a service. As soon as that service no longer serves them, they're going to leave. They're not going to care because if you buy this brand of bread and then you don't like it anymore, you just buy another brand of bread and don't feel guilty about it. So they're going to leave and go to another studio because guess what? That studio is competitive. They're winning more competitions. They just got someone into the Australian Ballet School. They just this, oh, that could be better. I'm just going to go there. And that hurts because you put your heart and soul into your business and them as a person. So because it's personal interaction as a service, it is very hard to not get attached to, but it's definitely something that happens over and so you've just got to kind of be ready for it and have that wall up. And I think having those external people who are not in this, they can counsel you through that. They can see it coming before it happens. They can kind of, be that external lens.
If they're your whole world, and then you let that happen to you, then you become resentful of it because that's your circle, and you're like, you feel like you're being taken advantage of.
And how many
Right? But
times?
if you have the outside people, they're actually the ones that are building you up, and this is actually a business. And you love it, but you have to realize that the gym industry is the same. I used to have friends, even they'd come in, I'd be friends with them, and it's like, then they'd leave, and it's like, oh, what? Like you were, friends? It's like, no, they're paying for a service. That's actually what they're paying for when they no longer need it. Cut. Right?
Yeah.
And it's easy for them, but for you, it was like, oh, it's so much easier.
And so having that external group of people who build you up, because the other thing is, it's great when you have students who tell you how it feels nice when people tell you that you're good. And I'm so proud that you're my teacher, and like that gives you all the things.
And not everybody's like
All the
that.
No, absolutely, all the
Yeah.
things. I actually just gave Kerry a gift,
With you forever, but then you've got the few that do kind of make you a little bit jaded.
and I just gave Kerry a gift from a student that we've taught for the last 2 years, and I'm like, those things are lovely. They're really, really lovely, and it makes you feel like it's worth it. And it's not every student, but having the people on the outside, if you can have a network of people that continue to build you up and tell you that you're doing a good job, then you don't need students to do that for you. You're getting something else.
I don't give my kids anywhere near the stuff that I used to give them 30 years ago. Like the stuff they got for free and the extra time and the extra effort. They used to get. They don't get anywhere near that now because I've been burnt so many times. I've got a little kid who's 6, so just started solos like 3 weeks ago. So she was having a solo every second week. So she had her first one, great kid. And then the next week, so for last week, I was supposed to have her solo, but one of my teachers called in sick, so I had to cut the class. And I forgot all about it. I walked in, this kid sitting there with someone who dropped her off. And I thought, oh, you're here early. And I just went off and I went into the class, and then she had 2 classes, and then I had her again. She said, am I having my solo tonight? I was like, oh, crap. And I said, I'm so sorry, honey. So at the end of the last class, I ran all the kids who had their solos, went, okay, show me yours, show me yours, show me yours. Then I was sending messages to the mum for different things like a costume and for, and I'm sorry that I missed it. No, and crickets. And she didn't turn up on the Thursday after classes, and one of the kids saw her, and the mum said, oh, we just thought we'd give it a miss, which she never ever does. And I'm like, just because I forgot your solo. And I went on, and I was sending her messages about different things and nothing, no answers. And then I said to Jessie, she's going to walk. I thought, not upset about it, didn't do anything wrong, but she's going to walk. And anyway, then she did turn up last night and said the mum had rung me in the day and said, did she have a private tonight? And that's fine. But yeah, I expected her to go.
It's that feeling, isn't it, never knowing. And that's why I think, like, definitely having this community and taking the time. And this is why I get disappointed when I know people want to come but don't because they feel guilty. Like, I've spoken to the people who are here, and each of them have said, I'm so sorry, I really want to be there, but and then I get it, because like I've got to go to Sydney next week for this as well, and I've got 2 kids that I'm like, I can't take them to school. I can pretty much work from my computer, that's fine, which I don't, but I could. But like, who's going to pick them up, who's going to take them to sport, so yeah, there's guilt there as well, you know, but you've got to go, I need this.
Well, you said, Vicky said, I meditated the last week and never realised how good that was. So finding that, and it doesn't necessarily business? What's something that lights you up that you can do for 10 minutes in the morning that brings you back to that center and takes you out of that guilt feeling? Because we all, it's not just a dancer thing, we all smoke. It's going to be the worst thing ever, and then this will happen, and then this will happen, and then before you know it, the world is going to end, your dance studio is going to close, and it's going to be the worst thing ever because she didn't have a You know what I mean? Like we all spiral in our own mind. We might not say it out loud, but breaking that thought pattern and taking a moment to call a friend, do this, like just snapping yourself out of that cycle will make a huge difference. And again, having those external people that are not in that community will easily snap you out.
Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I just remembered I've had to cancel tonight's party. And so I need to put a reminder up on there so nobody turns up and knocks on the door.
No, that's fine.
And just before you go, Brendan said if you've got what do we call them, challenges? So my challenges were one of
You
them,
want to share?
maybe one of them you can help me. Does anybody feel like writing curriculum?
No, thanks.
Okay, so that was
No.
Didn't work.
You identify the challenge and ask the community.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a fail.
That was one of them. Other than divorce lawyers, is anyone a divorce lawyer? No,
There is
okay.
one in-
Actually, I can help with that. I can help with that.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, we'll
one of
talk
my
about
best friends.
We'll talk about that after.
I'm in a
I'm
Facebook
not
group.
joking. Actually, never. Yeah.
I'm in a Facebook group called Like-Minded Bitches Drinking.
Yeah,
Wine.
I do too. I see
Yeah.
that one. That's funny.
That's a great.
That is
Like
funny.
it is great. It's a great group
Yeah.
because you can. And there's another one, Small Business Girls Australia. I think it is.
There's so many, and they're quite
And
funny.
like you put your answer, you put your questions in there. I find they usually answer really quickly. They
Yeah,
do.
because there's so many people with nothing
Yeah.
else to do, like,
Yeah.
trying to procrastinate like we all do when we're supposed to be working. I'll just check what's
Check my notifications.
But I think just watching, I'm very careful with the dance specific ones because I know there's judgies in there.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, you guys need to use our group because there's no judgy.
Yeah.
So if there's anything like, I know we just don't put enough in there. So just using these people, like, and it's quite filtered. Like I'm not letting just anyone in. That doesn't sound. That's
And I can't put it in it. Like there are some things I won't put in, like Dance Teachers Melbourne, all that sort of stuff, because like I'm not threatened by you. My kids aren't going to go to your school. They're not going to go to your school. And they're not going to go. Sorry, I don't even know where you are.
She's around the corner.
But you know, and I get, you know, and
Yeah.
I have the same thing that, you know, here I'm happy, and I've got another group of, you know, probably 10 or 12 teachers that I share anything with.
Yeah.
And like costumes and props and target flooring, and you know, I could hire that to them, but I'm like, just take it. Just sitting there, you know, not being used.
Yeah.
And you know, and I feel like we all get stronger if we all work together rather than against each other. But there are some groups that I just can't write my problems on, because the woman who's down the road who's waiting to jump into vanilla the minute that she gets a chance.
Yeah,
You
she'll
know
be
what I
like,
mean?
oh, I see she's got a problem with that, so I'll
Or the
pop something up
or the
saying,
one
oh,
who-
we do this, like
or the
knowing
one
that
who's
that's
just
your problem.
coached my
Yeah,
my
I know.
competition kids, and you know, who walked out, you know, 2 weeks before a comp and all the rest of it. Like
You
so
can't
you just
talk
don't,
about that.
you don't want that sort of thing.
And people
So,
screenshot stuff. Have you seen that on the pages? People screenshotting things
Yeah.
and sharing, but yeah, I mean, my point is, this group's not that sort of
Yeah, and I
thing.
had
So
it
anything
that.
you can think of, anything you're feeling, you know, needs talking about, you need to borrow, whatever. I mean, I put Julia's up the other day about, but it didn't help. But I tried. As the group gets bigger, it'll help, hopefully. And I'm just really cautious of adding, like, I mean, I've added you guys and potential I'll add Katia and maybe add some of those more business related questions to people as well. Yeah, just so you've got another community that you don't have to rely on your studio people. Yeah, because it gets really awkward. I mean, in saying that though, Brendan was a studio person, and had I not been that person that connected then, we would have been friends now. And I think all of my friends danced with me at some point. I don't think none of my friends are non-dance people from that.
I think there is a point in time where someone crosses over.
There is, isn't
You
there?
know,
Yeah.
but it's not something that happens quickly, and you kind of need to have your guard up.
I think I remember the day I said, that's it. Everything changes right now. I'm not doing that again. And I said, some of the mums that I was already really friendly with, oh, don't do that. That's not fair for the new kids coming up. And I said, I could be just as good a teacher, but I'm not letting them get to me again.
Yeah.
That's the line. Like I got to a line, and that was the day. And I don't know what the difference is really, except it's in here. You don't actually make any difference externally. It's in your head, really, the difference, which is weird. But I think maybe you have to be burnt that first time before you, or maybe 10, 20 times before you learn. I don't know. Well, it is now 11 o'clock, Brendan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.